What's your OF? I am an a-hole moment. Someone I hadn't talked to in years came up to me and started telling me about how they haven't been doing that good lately and that they found out they have cancer. Well, I was at work and only half paying attention, so after he stopped talking I said that's good. Haven't seen him since. Luckily for you. This is the kind of thing where an apology has no statute of limitations. Years ago I went into a Hot Topic and as I was at the register, the girl working started telling me about all the new Metallica shirts they had gotten. For some reason, I told her I wasn't really into wearing band shirts anymore, which was mostly true, and even though I didn't mean to, it came out sounding really snobbish. At the time, I thought her reaction was kinda strange, even accounting for my accidental condescension. Shortly after I left the store I remembered I was wearing an in-shirt. You made a shitty retail job brighter that day. I was driving down a road and a lot of people were honking and yelling at me on the street. I got angry and flipped a bunch of people off and honked back. At the end of the street I saw a one-way sign and realized I was going in the wrong direction. The other day I was tailgating behind a car that was tailgating another car doing half the speed limit. I wondered why they didn't honk them. So instead I was about to honk a few times, but something in my subconscious told me to wait. The person between me and the slow driver changed lanes, so I got a good look of a big rear window with flowers. The car is also super long. Oh, it's a hearse. It's going slow, to be careful with the body and flowers. Oh my god, I was so glad I didn't honk. In early high school, late 90s. So if you got a girl's number it was the house number. I called a girl's house and her dad answered. She was out, but I noticed his speech was a bit slow and slurred. Next day at school I mentioned I had called and asked if her dad had been drinking. Well, turns out he didn't drink much since his stroke. Still feel awful about that. Okay, but what about your relationship with that girl? Were you still friends after, or did she hate you for saying that? I was drunk at a pub and shouted for the band to play Free Bird. They stopped in the middle of the song they were playing, started up Free Bird and called me up on stage to sing it. I froze, forgot all the lyrics and made an absolute A of myself. Props to that band though. That right there makes me never want to shout Free Bird when I am drunk now. Makes me want to quit drinking. I once saw a cover band whose lead singer, anytime someone shouted Free Bird, would flip them off and go, there ya go, it's free. Wow, what a great power move. And hey, at least you had the guts to try. I was making fun of an old guy I'd seen outside our school at a basketball tournament to some friends in the locker room. He looked and talked like Farmer Fran from The Waterboy. Turned out to be the dad of one of the guys I was talking to. Still can't even think of that movie without it bringing up endless amounts of shame. At my former job my boss was looking out the window and saw this guy get out of his car and head towards out front door. Boss says out loud, "Oh man, look at this toothless redneck." Coworker says, "That's my father-in-law." Boss told me later that'll teach me, and facepalmed. Coworker wasn't mad. He agreed Phil looked like a hick. I was at a friend's house in school and one of the other girls said, "Oh my god, there's a guy walking up your driveway. He looks like a child molester." We all go to the window to look. It was my dad. He walks awkwardly cause of a spinal problem and was older than most of my friends' dads. That was embarrassing, to say the least. I was a senior in high school and was waiting for my dad to pick me up. At the time, I was also the head student athletic trainer, as my dad pulled up in his 1971 Ford Galaxy with a big old V8 engine, and this was in 1992. A couple of freshman football players commented, "Hey, I wonder whose dad is driving the Uncle Buck mobile." I turned around and glared and said mine. They realized who it was and quickly shut up. It was kinda awesome, and my dad got a kick out of it. Broke up with my first girlfriend who was really attached to me, just by ignoring her. I feel so bad. I was just a kid, but that was a harsh treatment. "What's your name?" I asked. "Shara." Trying to be playful. "Oh cool, like Sarah with a lisp." "I have a lisp. My name is Sarah." Oof. My dad has a friend named Waymond. He doesn't have a speech impediment, and his name isn't Raymond, but it usually takes him a while to straighten this out when he first meets people, especially on the phone. A. Why would parents do that to a kid? B. Does he not just say my name is Waymond, like Raymond with a W? I feel like that would clear it up pretty quickly. Similar, a friend of mine and I are setting up a board game. He misplaces some tokens. I correct it. Shortly after that, he misplaces some other tokens. What's wrong with you? Are you colorblind? Yes. That was the moment that I remembered. I knew that he is colorblind. It happened some years ago. I still tend to randomly apologize. Not that it helps. 2 years ago we celebrated New Year's Eve. During fireworks my daughter asked why it all explodes in different colors. I tell her that it is because of different metals and stuff inside the firework. Then I try to remember which ingredients are used for which color, but I can't remember. However, I knew that friend of mine has a PhD in physics. He should know. Posting on Reddit sometimes makes me reread my shit and realize I'm being an a-hole. I don't do it on purpose, but I think years of reading and writing posts on the internet has tainted my tone. Try Kegels, and tone your taint instead. Heavenly setup, God's tiered executed reply. I don't know if I've got so far as being an a-hole, per se, but I've ticked people off by writing without thinking how my words might sound to some people. I'm now trying to limit my comments to positive, informative, or harmlessly funny, and it's great to see hundreds of upvotes once in a while. My friend group tried to stay close after high school, but we all fell out of touch as you do, as everyone forged their own path in life. Well, mine led me down a path of depression, anxiety, and failure. So every year or so they would hold a get together to reconnect and hang out. I attended a couple of these, but as time went on and my downward spiral got worse, I stopped responding to calls, texts, invites, etc. because I thought that no one would want to hang out with this version of me. I was invited to 2 weddings which I didn't even respond to because of this negative loop. And then when my best friend from that group was diagnosed with cancer, I couldn't even bring myself to face him. I tried to go to his funeral but couldn't enter the building because I felt that I didn't deserve to be there. Finally, a few months ago, the parents of one of my friends saw me at work and wanted to talk to me. They told me that my friend group was really broken up, that I ignored all of their attempts to reach out to me. It was then that I realized that in all of my stress about being miserable to be around, I had become an a-hole to those who tried to care about me. When I realized the reason I've lost so many friends is that I'm so shy at getting back to people. Ah man, this one hits home. Same here. Took me 10 years to realize I've lost so many potential best friends in my life, only because I wasn't a good friend to them. I used to do this thing where, after I have a good time with people, I never see them again because I want to preserve the idea that I'm fun to be around. Then years go by and I finally feel comfortable saying, hey, let's hang out again, and they're like, who are you again? That's a strange line of thought. I'm always afraid people will realize I'm not fun to be around either. But what I do is I ride that train until they realize I'm a bad person. If something goes horribly wrong, then I can do the thing where I don't contact them for forever. Turns out some people will just keep having a great time with me even though I'm clearly a trash gremlin. 8th grade, speech class. A kid had been absent a few days, and when he came back, I started razzing him a bit. We were friendly, but not friends, so I felt okay kidding around, claiming he was just pretending to be sick to get out of class, that sort of thing. Nothing really mean, though. He took it for a bit, then turned, looked me dead in the eyes, and said in the flattest voice, no, my mother died, and turned back around. If God had struck me dead with a bolt of lightning when I stood before him at the pearly gates, I'd have said, yeah, fair enough. My 7th grade teacher cracked jokes in front of the class. He was known for being a ball buster. After I came back from a few days absent, I did the deadpan my papa died. He turned red, sucked in his breath, told me he was gonna go fall on some rocks now, and left me to take my seat. I was in the army, making fun of a guy, said he couldn't even get a medal for something in the Special Olympics. He then pointed out his daughter was in the Special Olympics. I profusely apologized, and he accepted, but it still keeps me awake at night. I once told a joke, what's the hardest part about eating a vegetable? The wheelchair, to a girl in high school. She just stared blankly at me and said, you don't know about my brother, do you? She then pulled out her phone and showed me her lock screen, a photo of her and her brother, who had been wheelchair bound since birth. Not my most proud moment. I said to a girl in high school, at least you have grandparents. She responded, at least you have parents. My dad's in prison and my mom's in a psychiatric hospital. This entire year, been recovering from my divorce last year, and it forced me to take a hard, honest look at myself and all the shit I used to do and how I actually treated those around me. A lot of tough to swallow pills, but a lot of much needed reflection taken place. For years I used the same thing happened to me line whenever someone opened up to me, instead of just shutting up and listening to them. But yeah, working on it. I feel you with this one. It's like me on autopilot responding, and I have to really pay attention not to do it. I'm sorry to everyone I've done it to, but I am still listening. I developed a pretty serious drinking problem, and in one day everyone finally had enough. I got fired, kicked out of my apartment, disowned by my friends and my family. I was left utterly alone and homeless with $2,000 and a 1986 Volvo station wagon. It was coordinated between everyone in my life, and it effing hurt, but I wouldn't take any of it back for the world. Things are far better now, but that was the sort of life event that is supposed to change you, and I'll let it do so for the better. Those old Volvo wagons are solid. When I was 16, I worked in a retail store and was in charge of the fitting room. You see people come in and out so much that you sometimes don't pay too close attention. A woman walked in with their preteen kid, so I pointed towards the ladies' side. I only side glanced and saw her kid was wearing a baseball cap with their head lowered, and really baggy clothes. I immediately assumed the kid was a boy and pointed towards the men's side. They looked super awkward and uncomfortable before their mother corrected me and said she's my daughter. I apologized profusely, and their mom decided to nag her by saying, "See, with the clothes you wear, people think you're a boy." I felt even more terrible that I put her in this weird conversation with her mom. I, a male, hadn't gotten a haircut in a while and was in a hardware store with my aunt. I hear, "Can I help you ladies with anything?" from behind me. Since he was clearly addressing us, I turned and said, "Gosh, maybe a haircut." I had a good laugh about it. "I wouldn't dwell on your fitting room situation. You're definitely not an a-hole, and if people are sensitive about the way they choose to be, that's on them, and you can't control someone else's mother." I blamed my fart on a mentally challenged boy in 5th grade. In middle school, I saw a kid walking around with a fanny pack, so I snickered and said, "Nice fanny pack." He said, "It's for my insulin. Just got diagnosed with diabetes." Hey, I finally figured out what the Samsung version of this emoji is supposed to be used for. I was 23 when I found out that I needed glasses for being nearsighted. I did not take the news well. I did not want to wear glasses. My boyfriend went to the store with me and pointed out frames he thought would work well for my face, and he said very encouraging things, while I BA'd non-stop about how ugly they all were. Then a woman who was also browsing in the store turned to me and said, "Could I borrow him? He is so helpful." I was ashamed to realize how I was taking out being upset about my vision on this great boyfriend, now husband. I told my friend that she shouldn't use medication for her mental illness because I was convinced she could just use sheer will to get through it. It was an a-hole move to make her second guess getting professional help to address her mental health issues. I wish I just instead offered support instead of trying to fix it when she mentioned the side effects, when I had no idea what I was talking about. This was when I was a teenager and thought I knew everything. Yes, now this is what the question is about. So many of the replies in this thread are just I asked why she was lying. She said she was born with one leg shorter than the other. No, that is just a politeness gone wrong. You were actually being an a-hole. Sorry bro, but thanks for committing to the theme. One day while I was walking on the street, some kids kicked a ball in my direction. I was going to pass it back, but I thought one of the kids closer would just get it. I decided to keep walking. I looked back at the kid and I could see the look of disappointment on his face. I felt like biggest a-hole on the planet for a few days. I still feel bad thinking about it. My girlfriend and I were walking past a middle school in downtown Manhattan. As we pass by the fence, some guy asks me, "Hey, what time is it?" I say 2 o'clock. The man starts ringing a bell and shouts, "All right, everyone inside." My girlfriend smacks me on the arm and says it's only 1:54. I was the a-hole who cut these kids' recess short by 6 minutes. Every time my kid asks to try what I'm eating, I always say that it's spicy and he won't like it, so I don't have to share. A lady told me she was hospitalized 4 months after she fell asleep at the wheel and drove her car off a cliff. She said she woke up right when the wheels went over, and I asked her was it worth it? She stared at me, wondering what I meant. So I continued, now you know what it's like to fly in a car. When I realized I picked a side that benefited me more over the one which would be the correct side multiple times in arguments, fights and every other situation where such decision can be made. Teacher here walked into my co-worker's classroom, loudly and obnoxiously mocking a man from the district who is supposed to help us with instruction and provide support. She ushers me out of her room immediately and starts laughing, cause he was sitting in there to observe her next class. Told a girl I liked her accent and asked her where she was from. She told me she had a speech impediment. About 20 years ago I had some friends over for a party. At some point a girl spilled her drink all over my keyboard and all the keys got stuck and it didn't work. Somehow I got irrationally angry. She tried to apologize but I judged the effort too feeble. I tried to clean the keyboard, swearing aloud, which made her miserable. I finally slapped a big out of order notice on the keyboard right next to her. She got fed up and left, walking, in the snow, to her home 5 kilometers, 3.1 freedom units, away. When my friends just stared at me silently, I realized how big of an a-hole I was. I ran after her and got her to return. We've been married for 9 years now.